Hey guys, it's great to have a full house today. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming. My name is Pavel. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called Keboola. And today we're gonna be talking about data mesh. I'm not gonna be doing a show or hands-on of Keboola. I don't think we have time for that. You can see us at the booth and you can get that. But I'm gonna be talking more about our clients and the experiences when they started to do data mesh. And what we have observed are some things to look for or make sure that don't happen or just to focus on. So it's going to be more conceptual architectural. So last year, we talked about how the modern data stack is dead. Everybody's like, you guys are crazy. You need just modern data stack 22s. If you look around today, it's so interesting to see how many companies are actually saying, well, you need to put it together somehow and manage so many tools in modern data stack. And I'm like, why? Why, right? Everybody's asking why. To get the value of data. That's why everybody is actually doing the data mesh, right? That's why we want it, to get more value of data, actually to get data into hands of more people. Before I start, I don't know if you follow my business partner Milan on LinkedIn with Chris, but they do this thing, a crystal ball week, about the predictions, what's going to happen in the data world. And I think it's pretty funny. They do it on LinkedIn, or you can stop at our booth and give us your private fortune teller prediction. And then we will do something with them and some funny things, right? So, okay, first, some use case. So as I said, why do we see our clients, building data mesh architecture? It's always that they want to unlock the value from data. They want to give data, to more people who are not techies, but who are in the domain, right? To create quantums. And what happens when you do that, you actually unlock all of those small use cases in every department, all of those long tail use cases. And if you add the value of them, it's several times bigger than the big IT projects, right? So just a question, how many of you have actually adopted full-time data mesh? Can you raise the hand? Okay, we are in the right place, perfect. How many are on the path to adopt data mesh? Okay, interesting. Okay, perfect. So this is one of the examples what can happen if you do it properly. And I emphasize properly because my point is it can mean different things for different people. So I will just stop a little bit and talk about the process, right? So if you want to industrialize data to get a full, value from it, to use data to power your operations, there are three main steps, right? The first one, data looks like Lego bricks. It's scattered everywhere, right? According to Statista, there is over 110 SaaS applications in every enterprise. 110. Each one of the large companies has 110 plus minus SaaS applications. Next to that, there are old, like architectures, like Teradata, right? A lot of data marts, a lot of oracles, etc. It's very hard. So first, we need to put the Lego bricks together and automate it, right? Second is where we actually work. If you think about DataOps, kind of like methodology, and second part would be where you actually do your exploration and you actually create, right? And why we've observed people do that? First, they want to get insights into the whole value chain. Not just, part of the organization, but how does the organization run as the whole, so they can make it better and make more money, right? Second, and that's why we are here, to actually productize what they've seen, what they've done, so other people can reuse it and enhance their workflows. So machines and people. That actually is wonder. And the third is create machine learning models to help us personalize on massive scale, predict things, and actually automate. There are two guys over there, Matt and Mike. Can you raise your hand? They know a lot about this, a lot about machine learning and predictions. They just recently did create a project for companies like 150,000 locations around the world, for companies like McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, where they predict what is gonna be going on in each one of those locations tomorrow in 15-minute incremental windows. And then they go to the third step, which is to industrialize it. They use that knowledge to power the processes and to actually automate how many people should come for a shift for each location tomorrow at 3:15. And that is what everybody's trying to do. Why is it hard? Well, because the world is hard. It's complex. This is a picture from Gartner how the infrastructure in typical enterprise looks like. There are all of those 110 SaaS applications, but they don't live in a vacuum. They live together with old infrastructure, with Teradata's, with Hadoop's. Then there is new streaming of the data. Then you need to exchange data with other companies, right? So it is a complex world. It is not easy. If you are not building on the green grass, right, then it's very complex world. How many of you are from large companies and see something like that in you? Yeah. Okay, you get my point. I skip the slide and move on, right? So when we see people start building data mesh, and this is a typical picture, right, of it, a lot of time people would talk about being too dependent on the vendor, right? Have you heard about it? Like, we don't want to be dependent on vendor. We don't want to have vendor lock-in, right? Well, that's great. What about people lock-in? And that's one of the things that, we don't think enough when we start create data mesh. When we create domains, we're like, okay, so how many domains are we gonna have? 25. Okay, how many different platforms are we gonna have? Oh, each domain can do what they want, right? Yes, should it? I don't know. If you think about it, if you start building from scratch and assemble from modern data stack, you actually need very expensive, very smart people in this room, right, to actually take care of it. Fun fact, technical people change every 2 years on average within the companies. 2 years is a typical tenure, then people move on. Second fun fact, there is 180,000 job listings for data engineer in the US alone. 180,000 free positions. So I would encourage, if you are designing data mesh, think about how you're gonna run it, how you're gonna build the self-serving data platform, how you're gonna do federated access, etc., right? In my opinion, it should not be dependent on people. And when you start building data mesh, think about the things which you are gonna imprint in your design. Jamak talks about it in her book very nicely, right? But many times people just rush into it. Oh, the idea. We are not dependent on central IT, right? Let's just build data mesh. But what are gonna be the principles? Start, how you're gonna use it, who is gonna use it, how you automate it, and what principles, how people are gonna interact together. What data contracts are you gonna have? How you gonna, productize the products? Is there an API? Is there a set of descriptions? How you gonna run it on different technologies, the products, right? How you gonna assemble it into pipelines? Everything, should be thought about before. And the last point I would like to stress is financial operations. I could not probably stress this more. As we are going into crisis, there's inflation, a lot of outside stress. Last 5 years, we were like, oh, we have new toys, we have Snowflake, it opened up so many opportunities. Let's just do something, right? And more, we see that people are, especially last 12 months and after Corona, thinking about ROI. What is the ROI on the whole initiative? What is the ROI on this pipeline, on this team? But what is the ROI on the product? If you create a data product, what is the value of it? And for that, you need to have financial operations on top of that. Not only to know how much it costs you, that's one part. But the second one is to know what is actual value. How many people reuse the data product? Because, like in theory, right, people should reuse data products. But do they? And if they do, what is the value that you create by reusing? And it's very, very good. Because if you do that, you can put it in your accounting. You can put it on balance sheet. And it actually, data can become a real asset, right? So when we see people starting to actually build the data platform for data mesh, we see, two things. They go from the old monolithic platforms, and they have two options. First is use infrastructure as a service and all the tools and put it together, using DevOps techniques and with people. This is great, don't get me wrong. If I would be doing for a company of 10 people, I would do it this way as well, because I can just put it together as much as I want. But there is one but, and that's the dependency on people. I talk about how not to be, think about it. It can be great, but people change, right? And lately, there is a third type of architecture for self-serving data platforms, and that, like Deloitte talks about a couple of layers of infrastructure. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and tools. And now they start to introduce new layer, and that's the cloud management platforms, right? It's because people don't want to put it together on alone. They have a great example in the IT world, no data, it's ServiceNow. That's the cloud management platform which abstracts everyone from complexity of SAPs. In data world, yes, we do it as Keboola, that automation, but we are not alone. Last year there was like 2 other companies. If you look around, this is the path that we see a lot of companies go. Not to be dependent on people that actually assemble a data platform and run it, but to put more automation on top of that. What it allows you is to actually then do that long tail. Everybody can access data products and reuse them. This is like when you design that, we are techies, right? We like to talk about hardcore, structures. Like, oh, what is the difference between Snowflake and the Lakehouse, right? How do they optimize queries? Well, I like Spark Query Optimizer much better because, right? Great. But you have to ask yourself, where is the business value created? If you layer it and stack it up like this, where is the business value, right? And how does the business value get created, right? Does it get created by us, technical people only, or by business people? In data mesh, domain people, right? One quantum. So my point is, don't only think about technical people when you design the infrastructure, but think about those layers where the business value is created, and as Gartner calls them, citizen developers, right? People which know a little bit of SQL and are part of your domain team. That's a very big thing. Example. Remember the long tail I showed you in the beginning? It was from a particular client called Mall Group, and they actually, when they started to go from centralized BI and data team to decentralized, the data mesh terminology was not around yet. So they were just like playing with that. But funny thing is, this is actually the real example how they planned it. They came up with very similar principles. So they planned the rollout in 3 phases. And this is very important. A lot of us want to go like, okay, here's the data platform, here are, the contracts, done, go, right? You know how to use it, right? You're not stupid, right? Just tech. Well, no. We see more and more technology is great. We do technology, we love technology. But we sometimes forget actually about the change management. And it's more important. So I would caution you, prepare the change management in at least 3 phases. And first, think about what is the role of your data team and what is the role of business teams and domain teams. In this particular example, I actually love how the data team changed from we do everything, we actually disseminate the knowledge and train people. And this can be achieved within 9 months. If you plan it, correctly, and if you actually think about doing the proper change management. So, couple of, money examples. So this client, particular Mall Group, they actually purchased 30 different companies before that. They got, too centralized, they didn't know what to do. Then they went full data mesh. And what is interesting, what we found out, they created a root data product. They are a retailer, right? Retail, physical retail, e-commerce, 6 countries. And they actually had this idea to create, how are we they were losing money. How are we gonna get into profitability? Well, we need to use data everywhere, hence the long tail, right? Well, what does it mean? Well, we need to know every day, every action, if it's profitable or if it's losing money. So they created a data product which they called unit economy per each storage key unit. Do you know what is storage key unit? So basically, if you have a huge warehouse, this jacket is 1 storage key unit. If it will be in green, it's a different storage key unit. So basically for every item in the warehouse, they created a profit-loss data product. That is huge because there is like 50 different factors. Who owns the good? How is it insured? What is the profit margin? How is it deteriorating, right? They isolated this product and boom, suddenly there was over 24 other workflows, data pipelines where people started to use it. So suddenly, when they were doing dynamic pricing, they did it several times a day and they knew if they are selling it profitably or not on that given day. Suddenly, when they plan their performance campaigns, every day they know every click exactly if it's profitable or if it's losing money. The end result, they were losing a lot of money. 3 years later, they became profitable. They tripled their revenue and they sold for $1 billion. So this is the power of decentralizing data, building data products, and building data mesh. Just another example, we are now talking about the big pressures in the supply chains. And that's true, right? After Corona, now with the war, everything is changing. There is a huge pressure in supply chains. Again, this was another company, again, retailer, again, several countries in Europe, and they started to decentralize data. They are not fully in the data mesh yet. Yet, by the power of decentralization and starting to create data products which are reusable and have, full profitability, they actually made 1 million in the first 3 months. For them, it's huge. Small margins, lot of moving complexity. But what's more important, they actually now can actually run their supply chains in predictive mode. And they have several scenarios and they can adjust, which is huge in today's. So I will leave you with my personal checklist. What we can distill when people are building, architecture, how to build data mesh. Please think about time to market, because it's everything. If we are building data mesh to unlock the value and to give it to people, it's about how fast we can do new things. Second, what is the ROI? If we build it, not only will they come, but if we build it, is it gonna be profitable? That determines how you're gonna build it. And the third one is kind of a lot of collaboration. Yeah, it's written in the Jean-Marc's book, right? Domain teams, technical people, business people, but really think about not as an abstract concept, but how are they gonna be working together day by day, right? If you work in your quantum and you need an expert help, somebody who has a specific knowledge, how are they gonna join it? What is the governance behind it? How are we gonna provision it, right? Yes, it should be self-running, healing pipelines, but composability and programmability, I think it's a big one. Gartner talks about 2 types of architectures: build to last versus build to change. We are moving from build to last world, which was the old world, into build to change. Just 6 years ago, think about it, nobody knew about Snowflake. Boom. Just look around how many new databases are there today. So build to change. Think about that, right? And last point, metadata. Have metadata for every single job, every single user, row, column, lineage, everything, so you can calculate the ROI and see new emerging behaviors. So with that, I'm gonna leave you on 2 last things. Today is a big day for us. We are launching Spot apps, with ThoughtSpot, which for those of you who don't know, I would encourage you to go and look at their booth. It's basically a way how to get from raw data to visualization in ThoughtSpot within 5 minutes, 1 click. It's really powerful. They've been working on that for a couple of years, and I really love it. And if you have your own prediction, stop at our booth and become your own fortune teller. Okay. Have a great day. So.